I'm Danielle Radoichin, and welcome to this episode of In Talks With, which today features a conversation with the African-American artist Leonardo Drew. Based in Brooklyn and New York, Drew was born in Tallahassee in 1961 and raised in public housing in Connecticut. Spotted as a teenager for his spectacular drawing skills, he was nearly recruited into a world of draftsmanship for the likes of Marvel and DC Comics, but instead found his true calling via the study of fine arts in New York and the impact of Jackson Pollock. Today, Drew is renowned for his abstract works that are made from an outpouring of chaotic elements to create monumental installations that express immense tension and turbulence. His most recent work, called Number 360, is newly commissioned for the chapel at Yorkshire Sculpture Park in Wakefield in the UK, a towering site-specific work which looks like an energised ball of exploding matter. That was my take on it anyway. Drew, for his part, prefers not to name his works other than with numbers, so that the onlooker can take from them what they will without any preconceptions. Recently, I was lucky enough to travel to Wakefield, where I sat in the chapel with Drew in the shadow of his newest piece and chatted to him about his work, travels, and spirituality. Hi, Leo.
Hello.
So we're sitting here in the chapel at Yorkshire Sculpture Park on the eve of the opening of your new bespoke installation here, Number 360. How are you feeling seeing it installed, ready to go, opening to the public? Tomorrow, is it opening to the public tomorrow?
Tomorrow's it.
Until end of October?
I believe that's correct.
Okay, yeah. So tell me what your feelings are.
Well, I mean, just the interesting thing in terms of this type of work, how, general public is one thing, but first impressions, meaning like people who work here, people who have the privy of seeing it as it's going up, meaning they're getting the full, Monty in terms of the full experience. It's been something, and it's always, an experience when you can work alongside folks and realize a vision. This is that, you're working in a chapel, sacred ground, really, and you have to sort of, in one way or another, sort of communicate with your surroundings. I mean, it's the framing already. I mean, with the arches and, like I said, the history of the space. You need to navigate that with the work that you're creating. I was here back in May, and I didn't know I was going to be doing anything in this space. I came here to look at the park, and of course, I was ambushed to realizing something for the space. And, I don't do outdoor sculptures, and so I knew that, but then they, of course, had this space, the indoor chapel, and I just had to sort of create something for it, so at gunpoint. Something was realized, and I will say that magically realized, because this piece is freestanding. As you can see, it's almost like a cone. It's standing on its point, so it's almost defying gravity.
So what are the dimensions? How high?
I think it's like an inch in inches and feet. I said it's got to be close to 24 feet tall.
Yeah, it's enormous.
In the space. Yeah. It absolutely fills the space. The energy also speaks on the level, or meets the space in a way that it's gravitas is undeniable. So I know my work, and I know when it sings and when it doesn't. Here it sings. It's like a all out choir of noise and visual. Are you
a religious man?
I would say I'm spiritual. Follow any particular doctrine, but I do understand and a cosmic awareness of things. And I think that that being said, I attempt to, on my journey, be all inclusive. I don't title the works, I just number them for a reason. This actually allows you to become complicit and create, like the creative process.
So people don't come at it with any preconceived notions of what it is.
No, they don't. I'm not telling them by titles, and I'm not, in a lot of ways guiding them. They have to find their way. The works are mirrors. I mean, you should be able to stand in front of it and actually find yourself. You don't need me to tell you how to find you, So the work should actually do that, should, dictate, for everyone, each and every one, their part of the journey, And in that way, they're an additive or super additive to my journey. The most fun that I can actually get from these situations is to actually sneak up on someone and they don't know who I am and just having a conversation with what they're seeing, what they're experiencing. Interesting enough, the body language is one that actually communicates far more readily and far more truthfully than when you start yammering with your mouth,
What kind of reactions have you
Leaning
heard?
this way, that way.
Yeah.
So it's a complete full on, dance with the work. And the way they circle it, the way they interact with it by wanting to touch it, to get close to it, get far away from it.
They want to photograph it.
Exactly. My God. Through Instagram, I don't do social media, but I was become more and more hip to the fact that these things are what you call hits or whatever. Kids do all kinds of strange, and you should check it out. But they do all kinds of things, jump around on them and
cool.
do it's unbelievable.
So that's almost like the artwork has an extended
Absolutely.
life.
Yeah, no. Like I say, just get the hell out of the way. So I know how to get the hell out of the way. So I think that in the end, the work should absolutely allow you to do those kind of things.
I can imagine people enjoying the photos because they do. This piece and lots of your work does look like it has this energy that it's exploding from the inside, like fragmenting outwards. And I can imagine people enjoying pretending they're part of that explosion.
Absolutely. The kids in particular. I mean, forget about it. It's. I mean, if I were to actually try to build that into the work, I'm sure I would fail. I mean, it has to be something that's a natural. It
just comes in naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And did you, when you saw the space back in May, did you know straight away what you wanted to do? Did you see it? No.
Oh, no.
So what was the process?
I was trying to figure out how to get out of it.
So you didn't want to do it?
No, it's just, like you're bombarded with things and you're looking at a space that actually you need to meet it. You just can't mess around in here. You actually have to seriously, apply yourself to the situation. And of course, Yorkshire is the history. I mean, you look at the sculpture park in itself, you got all the heavy hitters are here. And I think that you want to be a part of that dialogue. You know? So you have to bring it. You have to bring it.
You definitely brought it, and you're one of the big heavy hitters yourself. But so, what was the process then? Talk me through the process from seeing the space, thinking, shit, I've got to now I've got to come up with a goods. So how did you get from that to this?
I've been making these things. I mean, creating for, my God, I'm 61 now. I'll be 62 next month. So I've been exhibiting since I was 13. So I'm an old shoe.
You don't look it though.
The oldest hoe on the block. But it's like I started very, very young. And the sort of interesting thing is that the trajectory in terms of how I applied myself, with my facility. When I was a child, like DC and Marvel Comics, tried to get me to work with them.
Yeah, you were an amazing comics.
Oh no! Let's talk facility, because that is the base. Most artists now, they use computer, apps in order to realize things.
Can you just explain what happened there for the listeners so they understand that whole what you were just referring to there when you said about the DC comics?
Well, I mean,
So you were a kid. You were 13.
I was 13 when I started exhibiting. Then sometime not that long after, because of all of those folks, the people who were making those books all had homes in Westport, Connecticut. I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which is the poor side of Connecticut, and Westport is the affluent side.
So you went in to see these guys?
No, they came in to get me.
Oh, right.
So this has always been the case.
And they were like,
they were writing about me in the newspaper. It's like pretty much like these articles that thick of like what my other out life before this life they were writing. So, and it was a whole other body of work. I mean, I was doing things like copying paintings like Maxwell Parrish and the Wyeths and Norma Rockwell. And, I thought that was what art was. And when DC approached me, by that time, I had already honed my skills to the point where I would be attractive to them. So they were in a bidding war, literally, like DC and Marvel. at the time, the Superman movie, you're too young to remember this, but Christopher Reeve. What's the first? You know, Christopher Reeve. You're too young for that, but he was the first Superman.
Yeah.
You know, and like and DC had that movie, and they were using it as a bargaining chip. They said, Marvel, they're not making any movies, but we have the Superman movie. You should join us. And of course, little known to them, that I had already seen Jackson Pollock's work, so that completely blew my mind. And I said, this, I don't know what this is.
So you had the chance to go into being a professional comic drawer, drafts person for DC, but you were like, no, I want to go. I've seen what Jackson Pollock's doing, and then you went to university.
I went to Cooper Union. Oh well, Parsons first, and then Cooper Union. Now I really wanted to study fine arts, but at Parsons, the fine arts department was atrocious. And so I heard about this school where if you got in, it was free, but it was really like high end. It was like you really had to almost kill someone in order to get in, to get their spot, to get in at the Cooper Union. And I had a friend who applied. He has a tremendous amount of talent, but when he didn't get in, all I did was look at his application and look at what he submitted, in order to sort of get in. And I knew exactly what I needed to do in order to get in.
What was that?
And I was able to get in, no problem. I literally did the application in like one night,
Oh, wow.
And submitted it and knew I was going to get in. It was just, it was just strategy. He was not flexible or in terms of how he was using his facility, and I just knew that they were looking for that type of that if you have this, then what else can you do? So I just.
So you had an innate talent, but also where did that come
smart?
and the smarts, but where did that confidence?
No, listen.
Where did that confidence come from?
Well, I think there's two ways of traveling. There's inward and outward. If you spend a lot of time on the inward travel, you end up inevitably finding out a lot about yourself and also how to read situations and read other people. Mm-hmm. So I think through that, you're introduced to how to sort of navigate yourself through life. Yeah. I mean, if you're growing up in a project and you're exhibiting when you're 13, you got to know that, I was already ahead of the curve. So it was just a matter of realizing who you are in this picture, and then being able to sort of I would say Madonna says, exploit yourself, understand your worth, and then propel yourself into the next iteration of you.
Yeah, but was that a part of your upbringing that made you understand that?
No, my mother actually was the very opposite of that because she didn't understand. We grew up in the projects in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and she was of the mind that this is a waste, until I started bringing in money, of course. You start bringing in money, all of a sudden now that cash cow is like prime, where's my cut? It's my mother's language, So
did she actually say
no, that's the language. So these are all truths, I'm telling you. So it's all, like I said, about navigating the terrain. Understanding what the terrain is. I mean, if you're looking at your facility and believing that illustration is what art is, and then being introduced all of a sudden to the abstraction at its highest form in Jackson Pollock and Motherwell and that group, it's like, well, you're going to, it was a challenge. You need to put this down and pick this up, you need to sort of find out what's on the other side of this, the easy route would have been obviously to sort of go and make money doing this and pulls you out of your impoverished situation. But spiritually speaking, it was obvious to me that you need to challenge this thing that you have. I mean, I haven't use drawing or painting, which I was really good at. And, color has not been a part of my language, mostly because of wanting to sort of leave that behind, work without crutches and the safety net and reinvent yourself, Yeah. It took some time.
So how did you make that crossover into working with?
Well, you tie your hands. You tie your hands and say, okay, you're no longer allowed to do all those things that were easy, And it took 7 years.
Wow.
of banging away at it.
So you enjoy the challenge?
I still do that now, even to this day. When I get comfortable, pull the rug up from under myself and then, move on to the next thing. I mean, if you were to look at the visuals of my life, the catalogs, and they're out there, you'll see the changes and diversities and, ins and outs of different iterations. So, whenever I got to a point where it was, okay, this is it.
You're comfortable.
Shake it up.
Yeah.
And I always say that no one's going to really pay for my bad decisions, because I'm not married, I have kids. I mean, I would probably be more grounded if I had those things. And it would force you to sort of like make decisions that were, based on, on money, and I didn't, now you understand how to commodify what you do.
So were you making money from the beginning then? Because I know you were making money when you were drawing, so you've always...
Yeah, it was my mother. I told you, she was out there, where's my cut? So no, these are, like I said, this is, understanding, that first of all, that you need to sort of challenge yourself and move on to the next, phase. Or there's all these dimensions that can be continually added to your life. Now, mind you, it's a philosophy. This is a life philosophy, not an art philosophy. Because people make the mistake of believing that, okay, he's an artist, he can actually... No, you can actually achieve these things too. It's a life philosophy. So it's just a matter of being able to pull yourself just far enough away to sort of see yourself and understand that what it is, who am I in this, and how do I navigate towards other possibilities. Do
you have? Do you have students, or have you ever taught, or
no? I don't.
It sounds like that. I could imagine them coming to you.
I have disciples.
Yeah, do you have?
I have disciples, but I only starting to realize that as a fact. If you live long enough and you've been in the game long enough, you're going to have artists who follow you, younger artists who are coming up, some of which have already gone on to make their names.
Yeah.
But they will name you as their inspiration.
Do you get that? So, and you're based in Brooklyn.
I'm in Brooklyn, yeah.
Yeah. So and
in San Antonio now too.
Okay. And were you after studying? Were you pretty much based in New York? I mean, I know you've traveled a lot over the years, but do you see yourself as you're like a New Yorker?
I'm a New York now.
A New York artist.
Yes, but I actually just bought a little ranch in Texas.
Oh, nice.
In San Antonio. And back in the day, you would have, I wouldn't be caught dead in Texas, but these days, politically speaking, it would seem the crazy idea to sort of have a studio there. But, there are parts of this planet, I think, that would resonate with, depending on who you are. I mean, when I went to Texas, because I was pushed to do a project there and went there and fell in love with San Antonio and learned how to ride horses and then ended up now with you get a small ranch and you add another dimension to your life. So New York, the difference between New York and Texas is night and day.
Yeah.
So people were saying, why didn't you just get something upstate, New York? And I said, well, you're still in New York, so you need to get your ass on the plane.
And do you work? Have you got you've got a studio?
Oh, no, I built the space. Yeah. It's brand new because I only just closed down the space in September and they're just finishing building the other studio spaces. And by the end of next month, they should be done. And then
so is the kind of work you're making in New York, is it a different kind of work?
It would be different because you were talking about a whole different energy. So I'm determined not to bring that material to Texas. I have to sort of now find out what this landscape has to offer, and it'll reveal itself,
Yeah, that's the next stage for you.
Absolutely.
And I know you travel a lot. Is there? I've read about you traveling to China to visit porcelain factories and having
places of influence. Obviously, Peru and Machu Picchu, Moab, Utah. But China has really introduced this monster because the color was not really a part of my trajectory.
You mean going to China?
Yes, working with porcelain, working glazing, and working with these artisans. That's ground zero for
Where was
porcelain.
it in China?
Jingzhen.
Okay.
Yeah, which is mainland China.
And you spent time there actually working with these artisans. 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years back and forth.
Wow.
And and it was intense. The kind of things I came away with.
Why did you decide to? Why porcelain? What took you there? Why did you decide to go?
Well, on a visit, see the Great Wall and see the Forbidden City. It was like I knew I had to come back, but I didn't need an excuse.
Yeah.
And something that was going to sort of drive my my creative self. And I thought working with the artisans there in their foundries and making these gigantic vases, which I started smashing, and they started throwing out because they thought that, this is, it's a mistake, it's garbage. And I said, no, that's the art, man. That's not garbage. And interesting enough, a friend of mine who lives in Shanghai contacted me and said, well, Leonardo, don't get mad, but I saw a copy of your work in one of these clothing stores. See these artisans. I mean, because in China, it's the Wild West. I mean, these guys, there's no trademark for copyright. No, they're going to steal whatever you're coming here to create. They're right there taking notes. And they say, well, there's money in there somewhere I'm going to make. And there it is. You're going to be a decoration inside a clothing store. I said, you know what? Of what I came out of there with, it was a fair trade. You know what I mean? I mean, I am now, color is so much a part of my work now, and I think that I owe thanks to that situation. I mean, being in China and learning from those folks, and it was magical. Yeah. So they can steal as much as I should tell you, I saw Jeff Koons there. That was not Jeff Koons.
Really? Did you tell him?
Oh, no. I'm sure maybe he did some done there.
He'd love it.
No. I think it's an interesting place.
That's funny.
It's another planet.
And have you been back there since the pandemic?
I'm looking to go back in this coming November.
Yeah, because they've just opened up.
Just opened up. Yeah, and I have friends there. I mean, obviously, 4 years of being there, you're gonna, going to a number of folks who are, like-minded and just beautiful souls. So I need to go back. I need to get back there.
So where else would you like to go that you haven't been to yet?
India, of course. Egypt is actually just before COVID, I was scheduled to actually go to Egypt, and that COVID put the kibosh on that. But we'll return to that.
And do you like to go there and embed yourself in some kind of creative process?
Yeah. I want to just go there and allow, because I think that you don't just see through your eyes, and actually I think your body also takes in information. So you plant yourself there as an antenna, and you receive information from that place. If you're an artist, like if you're a writer, you're going to write about it. If you're a musician, you're going to make music about it. If you're a visual artist, you're going to create along those lines. So I just need to put my body into place and let the chips fall where they may,
And what about next for work? Are you already thinking about the next piece, or do you need
always? You kidding me?
You strike me as quite an energetic person. So you're not it's I'll take a break, I'll take a breather.
I'm already onto.
What's the next?
Well, actually, I'm going to head to South Africa, building on exhibition there in Johannesburg. So,
nice.
Yeah. So that really
is another bespoke? Is it another indoor made for the actual space itself? Or?
Yes and no. It is an exhibition. So there will be other works, but there is a piece that I'm going to highly Johannesburg. Yeah. So it'll be highly one experimental piece. If successful, you'll be seeing more of those. I mean, this piece right here is actually this is like maybe the 6th iteration of that very same material. I've shown at the Hammer, at the Wadsworth, in New York, Basel, Switzerland, and now here. So, and I know I'm missing maybe two other venues. That very same material. So it has taken on so many different lives.
So what will happen to this when it's done? Are you
change it to another piece?
So you reuse it. And what is the material that it's made from?
Well, it's all created in the studio. Meaning, it's not people mistake the word parts for found objects. They're not found objects. Painstakingly made in the studio. What you're seeing is I become the weather.
So yes. What do you mean by
transform.
that?
Well, you understand the effects of aging things. I mean, we're aging. Things are aging around us. But if you understand the rhythms of that, you can become the weather and manipulate those things and transform them into what your needs are.
So you create the material
from new things.
From new things.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're going to break this down at the end of it. Stay here at the end of the
turn it into something else.
Turn it into something else.
Absolutely.
So upcycle, recycle.
Absolutely. I should get a accommodation for that. and a bucket of money. A bucket of money. Thank you.
I'm sure you will. Okay. Well, Have I? Is there anything? I've sort of enjoyed this, but is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
Not at the moment. I'm sure once we close up shop,
you'll suddenly remember.
Yes, I remember everything. But man, you push a button, things gonna come out. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've had our time, but listen, I've really enjoyed our conversation, and I'm going to go and take a look round.
Oh,
and
please.
I'm sure lots of people are going to come and visit this as well.
Oh, honey, attack the situation. You're on your own, though.
All right. Thanks, Leo.
Yeah, my pleasure, girl.
You've been listening to In Talks with me, Danielle Radoichin. The sound and theme music is by Woogie Productions, and the artwork is by Patrick Wall. If you enjoyed this episode, please pass it on to someone who you think might also like it. Please subscribe and leave a review. To pitch for guest ideas, you can DM me via my socials at Danielle Radoichin. Thanks for listening.